The scream tore through the quiet cul-de-sac like a firecracker on a silent night. It was high-pitched, panicked, and came straight from Mrs. Karen Caldwell's perfect, white picket-fenced house. I dropped my soccer ball in the front yard, my heart pounding as I stared across the street. Her front door was wide open, and something was seriously wrong. Shadows moved inside, fast and chaotic, like a swarm of angry bees. Then I heard a low, rumbling hum, like a machine waking up. Lights flickered in her windows, red and blue, then green, flashing so bright they lit up the whole street. My neighbors poked their heads out, whispering, but nobody dared go near. Mrs. Karen stumbled onto her porch, her usually neat hair a wild mess, her eyes wide with terror. She was holding a small, shiny box in her hands, its surface glowing like it was alive. "Help!" she shrieked, her voice cracking. "It sits doing something to my house." The box pulsed, and the humming got louder. Suddenly, her front door slammed shut behind her, then opened again, like the house itself was breathing. Her pristine lawn sprinklers shot up, spraying water everywhere, but the water was glowing too bright purple, sparkling in the dusk. I froze, my stomach twisting. That box. I knew that box. It was my delivery, the one I'd been waiting for all week. The one Mrs. Karen had stolen from my porch, just like she'd stolen so many others. But this time, something was different. This time, whatever was in that box was alive and it was mad. As Mrs. Karen screamed again, the windows of her house rattled, and a deep, eerie voice echoed from inside, saying, "You shouldn't have taken what isn't yours. What was happening? How did my package do this? And why was Mrs. Karen's house turning against her?" Build up. The trouble begins. Let's rewind a bit. My name's Timmy, and I'm 12 years old. I live in Sunny Hills, a super boring neighborhood where every house looks the same: white fences, green lawns, and way too many rules. The person who makes sure everyone follows those rules is Mrs. Karen Caldwell, the head of our homeowners association, or HOA. Everyone calls her HOA Karen because, well, she's that kind of neighbor. If your grass is 1 inch too tall, she's at your door with a ruler. If you leave your bike on the driveway, she'll write you a nasty letter. And if you get a delivery, you better grab it fast, because Mrs. Karen has a habit of checking packages left on porches. By checking, I mean she takes them. It started small. Last summer, my new comic book disappeared from our porch. Mom thought it was a mistake, but I saw Mrs. Karen's car parked nearby when the delivery truck came. Then my soccer shin guards went missing. Then a cool drone Dad ordered for my birthday. Every time, I'd see Mrs. Karen's smug smile as she walked her tiny dog, Mr. Puddles, past our house. She'd wave like nothing was wrong, but I knew. I just couldn't prove it. My best friend Lila believed me. She's 11, super smart, and loves building gadgets. "Timmy," she said one day, sitting on my porch with her toolbox, "we need evidence. Let's catch her in the act." So we made a plan. We set up a tiny camera in my mailbox, angled to record our porch. Sure enough, 2 days later, when my new video game arrived, the camera caught Mrs. Karen sneaking up, looking left and right, then snatching the package like it was hers. She even muttered, "This neighborhood needs order," as she tucked it under her arm and strolled away. I was furious. Lila and I showed the video to my parents, but Dad just sighed. Timmy, she's the HOA president. If we accuse her without more proof, she'll make our lives miserable. Mom agreed. Let's not start a war with her. But I wasn't giving up. Mrs. Karen wasn't just stealing my stuff, she was stealing my fun. I deserved those packages. I worked hard mowing lawns to pay for them. So Lila and I came up with a new plan. We'd order something she couldn't resist, something so cool she'd have to take it. And when she did, we'd catch her red-handed. That's when I found it online, a mysterious gadget called the Quantum Surprise. The website was weird, with glitchy text and no clear explanation of what the thing did. It just said, "Guaranteed to amaze, not for the faint of heart." It cost all my lawn mowing money, but I didn't care. It sounded perfect. If Mrs. Karen stole this, we'd have her. Lila helped me order it, and we waited. Rising tension. The package arrives. The day the Quantum Surprise arrived, I was practically bouncing with excitement. The delivery truck pulled up at noon, and I watched from my bedroom window as the driver left a small, shiny box on our porch. It was smaller than I expected, about the size of a cereal box, but it shimmered like it was made of liquid metal. I wanted to run out and grab it, but Lila stopped me. "Wait," she whispered, peeking through the curtains. "Let's see if she takes the bait." Sure enough, not 10 minutes later, Mrs. Karen's bright red SUV rolled by. She stopped, looked around, and stepped out, her high heels clicking on the pavement. She was wearing her usual HOA uniform, a crisp blazer, a clipboard, and that fake smile. She walked right up to my porch, glanced at the box, and hesitated. For a second, I thought she might leave it, but then she reached down, picked it up, and hurried back to her car. My heart sank, but Lila grinned. "Got her," she said, pointing at the camera. "Now we just need to see what she does with it." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the Quantum Surprise. What was it? Why was the website so weird? And why did I have a bad feeling in my gut? Lila texted me at midnight. "Timmy, I looked up the company that made the box. The website's gone now, like it never existed." That made my stomach twist even more. What had we ordered? The next morning, things got weird. Mrs. Karen didn't show up for her usual morning walk with Mr. Puddles. Her car was in her driveway, but her curtains were closed, which was strange-ish, always kept them open to keep an eye on the neighborhood. I told Lila, and we decided to investigate. We grabbed our bikes and rode past her house, trying to look casual. That's when we noticed it. Her mailbox was glowing, not bright, but a faint, pulsing blue light, like something inside was alive. Lila's eyes widened. "Timmy," she whispered, "that's not normal." We parked our bikes and crept closer. The mailbox was cracked open, and inside was the Quantum Surprise boxer. At least, it looked like it. The shiny surface was pulsing, and tiny sparks danced around it. I reached out to touch it, but Lila grabbed my arm. "Don't!" she hissed. "We don't know what it is." Before I could argue, we heard a loud thump from inside Mrs. Karen's house. Then another. And another. It sounded like something heavy was moving around. We backed away, hearts racing, as her front door creaked open just a crack. A strange, warm breeze came out, smelling like metal and something sweet, like candy. "Timmy," Lila said, her voice shaking, "I think we messed up. Cliffhanger. The house wakes up." That's when the screaming started. Mrs. Karen's voice, loud and terrified, echoed from inside her house. The windows lit up with those weird, colorful flashes, blue, green, like a disco gone wrong. The ground shook just a little, like a tiny earthquake. Lila and I ran back to my yard, hiding behind my mom's rose bushes. Mrs. Karen stumbled onto her porch, clutching the quantum surprise box. Her face was pale, her eyes huge. "Help!" she yelled again. The box in her hands glowed brighter, and that deep, creepy voice boomed from her house. "You shouldn't have taken what isn't yours." Her sprinklers went wild, shooting purple water into the air. Her garage door opened and closed on its own, over and over, like a giant mouth. And then, worst of all, her front door started to move. Not just open or close, it bent, like it was made of rubber, twisting into a weird shape that looked almost like a face. I grabbed Lila's hand, my heart pounding so hard I thought it'd burst. What was in that box? What had we done? And what was happening to Mrs. Karen's house? The face in Mrs. Karen's front door twisted, its wooden surface stretching into a creepy grin. It wasn't just a trick of the light, it was real, and it was staring right at her. Mrs. Karen dropped the glowing quantum surprise box, and it hit the porch with a metallic clang. The pulsing light from the box grew brighter, and the deep, eerie voice boomed again, this time louder, shaking the air. "Thieves pay a price." Her sprinklers shot higher, the purple water now sparkling like it was full of tiny stars. Her windows rattled, and the lights inside her house flickered faster, blue, green, then a blinding white. Neighbors gathered at the edge of their lawns, whispering, pointing, but nobody moved closer. Lila and I crouched behind my mom's rose bushes, our hearts pounding. "Timmy," Lila whispered, her voice barely audible. "That box, it's doing this. We need to get it back." But before I could answer, Mrs. Karen spun around, her eyes locking onto me across the street. "You!" she shrieked, pointing a shaky finger. "This is your fault. You sent this thing to ruin me." Her voice was wild, like she was unraveling. The box at her feet pulsed again, and the door's creepy face let out a low, rumbling laugh that made my skin crawl. I wanted to yell back, to tell her she deserved it for stealing my stuff, but the words stuck in my throat. Something about that box, that voice, that house, it wasn't just weird. It was dangerous. And then the porch lights exploded. Glass shards flew everywhere, and Mrs. Karen screamed, ducking as sparks rained down. The house groaned like it was alive, and the front door snapped shut, locking her out. Lila grabbed my arm. "Timmy, we have to do something now." But what could we do? The quantum surprise was supposed to catch Mrs. Karen, not turn her house into a monster. As the ground shook again, I realized we were in way over our heads. And the worst part? The box was still glowing, and it wasn't done with Harrus. Build up. The plan goes wrong. Let's back up a bit. The day before, Mrs. Karen's house went crazy. Lila and I were sure we had the perfect plan. After we caught her stealing the quantum surprise on our mailbox camera, we thought we'd just march over, show everyone the video, and get her in trouble. Maybe the HOA would kick her out, or at least she'd stop taking my packages. But things started feeling off even before the box arrived. The website we ordered it from, that glitchy, creepy one, Lila checked it again that night, and it was gone. Not just down gone, like it had never existed. The only proof we had was the order confirmation email, which was weirdly blank except for one line: "The Quantum Surprise will deliver." No company name, no return address, nothing. Lila, being the gadget genius, tried to dig deeper. She hacked into some tech forums. Don't ask me how she's way smarter than me. And found a few posts about quantum gadgets. People said they were experimental tech, maybe even from some secret lab, but nobody knew for sure. One post from a user called Shadowcrafter42 said, "Be careful what you order. Some packages fight back." That made us both nervous, but we laughed it off. It was just a cool gadget, right? Something to trap Mrs. Karen. How bad could it be? The morning the package arrived, we were so excited we could barely sit still. I mowed 2 extra lawns to pay for the quantum surprise, and Lila kept saying it was going to be epic. We watched Mrs. Karen take it, just like we planned, and high-fived when the camera caught her. But then came that weird glow in her mailbox, the thumps from her house, and that bad feeling in my gut. By the time we were hiding behind the rose bushes watching her house go nuts, I wasn't so sure this was a win anymore. After Mrs. Karen accused me, things got worse. The neighbors started murmuring, looking at me like I was the problem. Mr. Jenkins, who lives next door, called out, "Timmy, what did you do?" My cheeks burned. I wanted to shout that she was the thief, not me, but the glowing box and the creepy house made it hard to argue. Lila tugged my sleeve. "We need to get that box before it does something worse," she said. But how? It was on her porch, and her house was acting like it wanted to eat someone. Rising tension. The house fights back, we waited until the crowd of neighbors thinned out. Mrs. Karen was still on her porch, banging on her own door, yelling, "Let me in! This is my house!" But the door wouldn't budge. The glowing box sat a few feet away, pulsing like a heartbeat. I whispered to Lila, "If we grab it, maybe we can stop this." She nodded, but her eyes were wide. "Be careful, Timmy. That thing's not normal." We crept across the street, sticking to the shadows. The air felt heavy, like a storm was coming, and that metallic, candy-sweet smell was stronger now. As we got closer, the box's glow seemed to pulse faster, like it knew we were there. I reached out, my hand shaking, but before I could touch it, the porch steps moved. They buckled upward like a wave, knocking me back. Lila yelped as we both hit the grass. The house groaned again, and the windows flickered with that crazy light show. Mrs. Karen spun around, her face red with fury. "Stay away from my property," she snapped, but her voice cracked with fear. Then something even weirder happened. Her mailbox, the one that was glowing earlier, flew open, and a swarm of tiny, sparkling lights poured out. They looked like fireflies, but they were bright blue and moved in perfect patterns, like a tiny army. They zipped toward the box, circling it, and the humming got so loud it hurt my ears. Lila grabbed my hand. "Timmy, those aren't bugs. They're machines?" She was right. Up close, I could see they were tiny metal specks, each one glowing and buzzing. They swirled around the box, then shot into Mrs. Karen's house through the keyhole. The door's creepy face grinned wider, and the voice spoke again. "You took what's mine. Now I take what's yours." Mrs. Karen screamed and backed away, tripping over her own feet. I wanted to feel bad for her, but part of me was still mad. She'd been stealing from me for months. Still, this was too much. Her house wasn't just acting weird, it was fighting her. The sprinklers turned on again, spraying that glowing purple water. But now it was aiming right at her, like the house was trying to soak her on purpose. She ran to her car, but the doors locked themselves before she could get in. "No!" she yelled, pounding on the window. "This is my car!" Lila and I ducked behind a bush. "Timmy," she whispered, "those tiny machines, they're controlling her house. The box must have activated them." I nodded, my mouth dry. "But why? What's in that box?" Lila shook her head. "I don't know, but we need to find out before it gets worse." Emotional low, doubt creeps in. We snuck back to my house, hearts racing. My parents were at work, so we had the place to ourselves. Lila pulled out her laptop and started searching for anything about the quantum surprise. I paced the living room, feeling like the worst kid in the world. Yeah, Mrs. Karen was a thief, but did she deserve this? What if her house hurt her? What if it hurt someone else? "Lila," I said, my voice shaky, "maybe we went too far. What if that box is dangerous?" Lila didn't look up from her screen. "We didn't know it would do this, Timmy. We just wanted to catch her." She clicked a few more times, then frowned. "There is nothing online about the quantum surprise anymore. Not even a trace. But I found something else." She turned her laptop to show me a forum post from that Shadowcrafter 42 guy. It said, "Quantum gadgets aren't toys. They learn, they adapt, and they don't forgive." My stomach dropped. "Learn?" I asked. "Like they're smart?" Lila nodded. "Maybe the box is mad because Mrs. Karen stole it. Maybe it's punishing her." That idea made me feel sick. I didn't want to punish anyone, I just wanted my stuff back. But now we'd unleashed something we couldn't control. I looked out the window at Mrs. Karen's house. The lights were still flashing, and now her garage door was opening and closing so fast it sounded like a drum beat. The neighbors were back, taking videos with their phones, but nobody was helping her. Mrs. Karen sat on her lawn, soaked from the sprinklers, hugging her knees and muttering to herself. I turned to Lila. "We have to fix this. We have to get that box and shut it down." She nodded, but her face was pale. "Okay, but we need a plan. That thing's not just a gadget, it's alive." Cliffhanger. The house makes a move. Before we could say anything else, a loud crash came from across the street. We ran to the window just in time to see Mrs. Karen's front door swing open again. But this time, it wasn't just a creepy face. The door stretched outward, like a giant hand made of wood, reaching for the quantum surprise box. The tiny metal fireflies swarmed out again, buzzing louder than ever. They lifted the box off the porch, carrying it into the house like it was their treasure. Mrs. Karen screamed and ran after it, but the door slammed shut before she could get inside. Then the house moved. Not just the door, the whole thing. The walls rippled like they were made of water, and the roof tilted slightly as if the house was turning to look at us. The windows glowed bright red, and that deep voice laughed again, so loud it shook my windows. "Timmy!" Lila gasped, grabbing my arm. "It knows we're here." The ground rumbled, and Mrs. Karen's car suddenly roared to life, its headlights flashing on. It peeled out of the driveway, driving straight toward my house. Lila and I dove to the floor as the car swerved, missing our front porch by inches. It stopped in the street, engine growling, headlights glaring at us through the window. The voice spoke again, this time from the car. "You started this, Timmy. Now it's your turn." What did that mean? Was the box coming for me now? And how were we supposed to stop a house that was alive and angry. The headlights of Mrs. Karen's red SUV glared through my living room window, bright as monster eyes. The engine growled, low and angry, like it was alive. Lila and I were sprawled on the floor, hearts pounding, as the car sat in the street, unmoving but menacing. That deep, creepy voice echoed from it again. "You started this, Timmy. Now it's your turn." My mouth went dry. Started what? All we did was order a box to catch Mrs. Karen. But now, her house was alive. Her car was stalking us. And those tiny metal fireflies were buzzing somewhere inside, controlling everything. Across the street, Mrs. Karen was banging on her front door, sobbing. "Give it back! I'm sorry!" Her voice was hoarse, desperate, not like the bossy hoe Karen I knew. The house didn't care. Its windows glowed brighter, now a solid red, and the roof creaked, tilting like it was watching her. The metal fireflies swarmed out again, circling her like a glowing tornado. She swatted at them, but they dodged, then zipped back into the house through a cracked window. The door's creepy face laughed, a low, rumbling sound that made my stomach twist. Lila grabbed my arm. "Timmy, we can't stay here. That carrot's gonna do something." She was right. The SUV's engine revved louder, and it inched forward, tires squealing. I scrambled to my feet, pulling Lila toward the back door. "We need to get to her house," I said, my voice shaking. "The box is in there. If we shut it down, maybe this stops." But even as I said it, I wasn't sure. What if the box didn't want to be shut down? What if it was smarter than us? We bolted outside just as the SUV lurched forward, crashing into my mom's rose bushes. Thorns and dirt flew everywhere, and I heard neighbors gasp from their yards. Mrs. Karen spun around,